During the first phase of the MCU, Marvel Entertainment created Marvel Television, and part of the plans of this new section was to create a bunch of new shows exclusive to streaming. Netflix, Amazon Prime, and WGN were all considered as options before Netflix was chosen as the winner. This series of Netflix exclusive shows originally ran from 2015 to 2019 with 6 shows, 13 seasons, and 161 episodes. And with the upcoming revival show Daredevil Born Again coming out soon, I intend to watch and review all these shows, starting with Daredevil Season 1 and ending with Daredevil Born Again in a 3-part video series. Without further ado, let's start with Daredevil Season 1. Back when I was younger and these shows were still on Netflix, I watched Daredevil Season 1 only to be traumatized by the scene in Episode 4 where Wilson Fisk decapitates a man with a car door. But since then, I have grown and am confidently able to say that this show rocks. Despite all the therapy I had to go through, I cannot deny how the brutality of the show significantly raises the stakes and helps differentiate itself from other things in Marvel. And even then, the show manages to balance out the violence with moments of levity. One second I'm laughing along with things such as avocados at law, and the next I'm watching thousands getting bombed. Most of said levity comes from Foggy Nelson. He's such a ray of sunshine to the point that when he gets mad or upset, you know things are serious. On the other side of the story, most of the brutality of the show comes from the main villain, Wilson Fisk. The best way I can describe his character is as a cunning criminal mastermind mixed with a 5-year-old having a temper tantrum. Every scene with him is always threatening because you never know when he's gonna snap. And the fact that he's doing all this crime stuff because he thinks it'll make the city better only makes him more threatening. I really liked how they did Daredevil's origin story and made the circumstances of how he got his powers actually terrifying. And despite only appearing in the first 2 episodes, I really like the character of Daredevil's dad battling Jack Murdock. He's just a big old doofus that's trying his best to raise Matt and give him a better life that I easily got attached to in 7 seconds flat. Overall, I give Daredevil Season 1 an 8 out of 10. It's a pretty good start to this series of shows. Next up, we will be looking at Jessica Jones Season 1. Going into this, I had no idea what to expect due to the fact that I'm not familiar with her character as I am with all the others from the comics and other pieces of Marvel media. And boy howdy, what a pleasant surprise this show was. I would say the thing I found the most surprising was the fact that Luke Cage is in the show. I knew he had his own show, but I never knew he first appeared here before he was given his own show. The show follows the title character as she fights an old archenemy named Kilgrave. In Kilgrave? Kilgrave is a terrifying villain. His main shtick is that he can mind control people simply by talking to them. Kilgrave's sheer villainy combined with how easily he can make people do these things makes him very threatening. And in my opinion, he's made even scarier when it's revealed that he's doing all this stuff to Jessica Jones because he loves her. And despite it all, the show still managed to make me laugh at him. And that right there is impressive writing. The show does a good job of making you feel unsafe because you never know who could be under Kilgrave's control, which ties in real good to Jessica Jones's arc of getting over her PTSD over Kilgrave. I really liked the more detective noir tone of the show. I thought it gave the show a unique style and sense of self. Overall, I give Jessica Jones Season 1 an 8 out of 10. Next up, we'll be returning to the prodigal son with Daredevil Season 2. Daredevil Season 2 is worse than Season 1, but only by a very small margin. For all the amazing aspects of this season, there's these little problems that weigh it down a bit. The best new thing added to the show is The Punisher. The show does a really good job of portraying Frank as a ruthless, unremorseful killer with things such as the rooftop scene in episode 3 and the courthouse scene in episode 8. But they also show his sentimental side with things such as the pet dog he rescued from some gangsters. Arguably, the stupidest thing these criminals did was kidnap Punisher's dog. They were basically asking to get a bullet in the head by doing that. The other main storyline going on this season involves Daredevil's ninja ex girlfriend Elektra and the criminal organization known as the Hand. I like what the show does with portraying Daredevil and Elektra's complex relationship, but they kind of fumbled with the Hand. Call me spoiled by Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin, but I felt like the Hand were a little bit of a letdown. I didn't find them as threatening, and they're not really introduced until later on in the season due to all the stuff going on with the Punisher, so they don't really have that much build-up. And even then, I was a little confused on what their evil plan was. The whole season, they're trying to capture Elektra because she's destined to become the Black Sky and join the Hand. Where I'm confused is that in season 1, there's an episode where Daredevil's mentor Stick tries to kill the kid because he's the Black Sky. But that can't be true because Elektra is the Black Sky, so what's the dish? Was the Hand wrong? Was Stick wrong? Are there multiple Black Skies? What is it? The Hand being a step down isn't helped by the return of Wilson Fisk. There's this absolutely amazing scene in episode 10 where Daredevil visits Fisk in prison as Matt Murdock, which leads to this incredibly suspenseful scene where Fisk starts threatening Murdock. What makes this scene so scary is that we know Daredevil can take on Fisk, but he's currently in a situation where he can't show off his crazy ninja skills or else Wilson might learn his secret identity. But Matt kinda has to fight back in self defense or Fisk might actually kill him. In conclusion, if Daredevil Season 1 is an 8 out of 10, then Season 2 is like a 7.8 out of 10. Still good, but just a smidge worse. Next up, we'll be looking at Luke Cage Season 1. I had a lot of fun with Luke Cage, and that's mainly in part to the action. So Luke Cage's power is that he has indestructible skin and super strength, and it's just really fun to watch bad guys trying to attack Luke only to fail miserably and have their shit kicked. It's a good time watching Luke effortlessly tank through everything. This helps contribute to the stakes when Diamondback is introduced because the whole time we've just been watching Luke mow down anyone who comes into his sight, but all of a sudden here comes a villain with the power to take him down and has a personal vendetta against him. Although I was impressed by the fact that Luke was able to waddle around town after being shot with an exploding bullet powerful enough to penetrate his skin. Twice. The other villains in the show are also pretty good. Mariah and Cottonmouth both dislike the stuff they're forced to do to succeed and blame the other for the current predicament they're in. And despite all the evil stuff they do, they both have some sort of moral compass or soft spot for another character. I also love the fact that the people of Harlem help show their appreciation of Cage by wearing hoodies with bullet holes in them. I find it funny to think about the process of making these. Like, did the guys selling them just buy a bunch of hoodies, take them to a shooting range, and have at it? Overall, I give Luke Cage Season 1 an 8 out of 10. Next up, we'll be looking at what many consider to be the worst of the Marvel Netflix shows with Iron Fist Season 1. This show is widely considered to be the worst out of all of these series, and hot take, it's not that bad. It's certainly not as good as all the other shows, but it's not completely horrible, and there was some stuff I liked. I will admit, though, that it does not start off good. The first few episodes' pacing are awful, there are episodes where I feel like nothing happens, and Iron Fist sometimes comes off as a dumbass, but over time it does get better. The characters really grew on me, and the actors did a good enough job, in my opinion. Harold was a decent villain. For most of the season, he's scheming behind the scenes, trying to rid himself of both Iron Fist and the Hand, manipulating both sides into a conflict that in the end will give him his way. He even gets more threatening as the season progresses due to his insanity after being resurrected from the dead. Same thing with Ward. He's Harold's son and one of the only people who knows he's still alive. In the whole season, he's trying to escape from his father so he doesn't have to be involved in his criminal activities. Like Harold, we see him gradually spiral as the season progresses to the point where he tries to kill Harold and get addicted to drugs. But unlike Harold, you actually kind of feel for him. He's not doing this for his own selfish desires, but because he genuinely cares for his sister Joy. He even tries to tell Joy the truth but can't bring himself to do it due to his guilt. Something about the show that people thought sucked was the action. People had high expectations for the action in this show, considering how Iron Fist is one of Marvel's premier martial arts characters. Hell, one of his comics is called The Deadly Hands of Kung Fu. So when the show came out, people were very disappointed. They were essentially expecting Shang-Chi-esque fight scenes before Shang-Chi even came out. And in my opinion, it's not awful, just decent. That's actually how I feel about the show in general now that I think about it. The only problem I have with the action is that I feel like Danny doesn't use the fist all that much during fighting. Rather, the show saves him using it for specific scenes. To me, that's like having Cap only use his shield in specific scenes rather than use it on default every time. Can't really call yourself the Iron Fist when you don't use the Iron Fist all that often. Although there was one fight scene I really got a kick out of, and that's when Iron Fist fights this guy Zhao Chen. The reason I love this scene is because Zhao Chen nearly manages to beat Iron Fist in hand to hand combat while drunk. He nearly manages to be a highly trained, superpowered ninja man while shit faced. That's amazing. He even has ropes tied around his bottles so he can use them as flails. Overall, I give Iron Fist Season 1 a 5.8 out of 10. And now for the big crossover show that all of these shows have been building up to. Next up, we have The Defenders. I had a lot of fun with the show. It was really cool to see all these characters interact with one another. The show does a good job of balancing each of them and not making it feel like anyone was overshadowed or stole the spotlight. And watching Iron Fist and Luke Cage interact with one another gave me a boost in dopamine in the hope of seeing them interacting more in a Heroes for Hire project. The action in the show is amazing. It's really fun watching all these characters fight together with their own unique skill sets and powers. And the show also did a good job of getting a laugh out of me, especially in regards to Jessica Jones. The Hand are back as villains, and I think they were done a lot better here. They're a lot more threatening this time around, mainly due to the fact they can now cause giant earthquakes that affect the majority of New York, and they also have a more defined motive. This time around, they're trying to access a stash of dragon bones, which they need to stay immortal and resurrect themselves, destroying New York in the process. The only thing I didn't like this time around was what they did with Elektra. Since the events of Daredevil Season 2, Elektra has been resurrected and brainwashed by the Hand to be their top enforcer, with her slowly remembering her past life pre brainwash. And I like that, but in episode 6, they have her kill the leader of the Hand and assume control of it. And I don't know, I thought that was very unnecessary. I feel like it could have just kept the brainwashed Black Sky thing and not have her go full psycho and become the new leader of the Hand for only 2 episodes. But other than that, this rocked. Overall, I give the Defenders a 7.5 out of 10. And that's all we'll be looking at for right now. Thank you so much for watching, and I'd be even more thankful if you tune in for the next 2 parts in this little series of mine. Make sure to like, subscribe, and comment down below how wrong I am about Iron Fist. Alright, bye.